Okay, in this short video, I want to walk through the steps for creating a project, getting a farm or a project a folder structure set up and the default data set and projection and coordinate system all established before we start loading and working with data. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start up ArcMap, and I'm actually going to create two instances of ArcMap, and it'll be evident here why. So let's start a blank ArcMap session. We'll put that up here in the right hand corner. Then I'm going to right click and start another session here. And you can have as many as you want. If you have multiple screens, you can have more than one project running at any given time. So I've got two windows set up here, and remember that share folder that we talked about with that state plane coordinate system data set in? We want to use that because I want to establish the right coordinate system as I start to bring information into this project. So I just start up this sort of blank ArcMap session to help me get that information. So we'll go over here to our catalog. We should already have our folder connections. I'm going to go down into the share folder. There's that state plane file geodatabase. I'm just going to drag and drop this polygon feature class into my map. Now, a couple things here. If I roughly know where I'm going to be working at, I can quickly just hit the identify button and click on a polygon and get the information and say, oh, this is the Montana state plane coordinate system for NAT 83, and I'll be done with it. Montana's pretty easy because they've got one that spans the whole state, but you can see in other parts of the country it's not that way. So what I'm going to do is, I know I'm working in Pullman, Washington. I'm going to take a sample data set that I got there for the EC data, and I'm going to zoom. Now, again, if I know where it's at right off the bat, I just quickly click up in here, and I can see it's a Washington South state plane coordinate system in the NAT 83 datum. So I can just, and I can be done with it. Once I know what zone I'm working in, Washington South, then I can create my project. But what if I don't know exactly where something falls? Well, what you can do is you can right click out here in the white space and find the geocoding toolbar. The geocoding toolbar allowed me to type in a zip code or an address or a city state type of combination to pinpoint where it is on the map to help me get that information. So we'll click that and have the toolbar open up here. All right, so the toolbar opens up, and we can drag this thing around, and by default it's going to be pointing to the online ArcGIS online service, which you guys have access to. And so all I'm going to do is type in Pullman, Washington, and hit enter, and it'll go out and find Pullman, Washington on the map. It goes out to the internet, uses this service out there, and then brings that back and it finds it for me. Now it quickly flashed up there, but I can right click in this box. I can do lots of things, but basically I just want to flash it again to make sure, yep, I'm right. Right click, flash, yep, it's right in that polygon there. That polygon represents the Washington South state plane coordinate system in the NAT 83 data, and that's the piece of information that I'm after. Okay, so that's really the only reason why I open up this other map here is to establish what zone I'm in. Okay, so once I've established my zone, I'm going to go over here to my other window, my blank window with nothing started in it yet. Go back to my catalog. I'm going to pin this down for a second as I work in here. And now go through my folder connection structure and go to my farms. And I'm going to right click on farms, and I'm going to create a new folder. Okay, now in this case we're working with WSU. So I'll type in a name for this project. Try to keep these names small, concise, and to the point. Try not to put a lot of spaces and put a lot of dashes and crazy names in there. Just keep things short, sweet, and to the point. So here we're going to be working in WSU, but now I might be working in other things may come up at WSU, and I want to further organize this. So under WSU, I'll create another folder called golf course, or just golf. We'll just do golf course here. And this is where I'm going to put all my golf course data. And the first thing I want to do is create a new folder, and I'm going to put my data folder. And now, well, it's really up to you. You could further organize this and create a data folder. and and separating it out that way. But I'm just going to go ahead and for simplicity purposes, just go ahead and create a file geodatabase at the root of my golf course folder here. So we've got farms, WSU, golf course folder, and in here I'm going to create my my file geodatabase. So I right click, hit new, and do file geodatabase. So the file geodatabase comes up. It starts off with this default name of new file geodatabase, but I'm just going to call it data. All right, there's no need to make this anything extravagant because it's going to be inside the golf course folder, and it's my data that's going to hold all of my information there for that particular area. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to create another folder under the golf course, and that's where I'm going to put my raw data, the things that I get from you guys, the yield data, the EC data, things like that. And I'm just going to store that raw data separately, and then I can process it. If I need to, I can get rid of it later. So I'm going to right click on golf course and create another folder and just call this raw or raw files. And if I go out to my folder structure under C, Precision Irrigation Analysis Tools, Farms, you'll see I'm starting to create this structure now. There's my WSU, there's my golf courses, there's my data geodatabase, which is nothing more than a folder of files. So I have no data in here, but this is what ArcGIS, the product, starts managing all my information. So we'll leave that alone, and then here's my raw files. Now, what I want to do is move in there. In this case, let's move in there a sample EC data set. So if I go back here to CTemp, this is where I might have uploaded all that file. This is a sample that I got from Bill, and I just uncompressed it. And let's just grab one of these whole numbers. So we have 17 golf WSU good. And I go into the EC. I'm not going to bring the whole folder over there because I don't need all this stuff. All I need is the EC data, right? This stuff right here. If I double click on that to validate, yeah, this is all I really need is just that file. I don't need everything else, so no need to muck up this this folder structure with a lot of data. So I'm just going to right click on that, copy that, and move that over to my farms, WSU, golf course, raw files, paste that in here, and I'm going to give this a name of hole 17, right? Because that's what it was. Make it simple. Don't have all these long names. Windows tends to, and especially ArcMap, tend to kind of do some crazy stuff if you start having long file names with special characters in there, dashes and commas and quotation marks and things like that. So just keep it as simple as possible. So we've copied that in there, and I may copy hole 18 in here and 19 and whatever else I want to do. This may be pivot 1 and pivot 2 and pivot 3 and pivot 4, and you kind of get the point there. Okay, so now I'll go back to my project here. And if I right click, or actually I should see now inside my golf course raw, I see that hole 17 that I copied and pasted there from the file manager. Now it's time to do some work. Okay, so first thing I want to do, and that sort of sets up my project here. And remember, we kind of in the behind the scenes we established what coordinate system is going to be used for this project. We haven't used it yet, but we're going to here in a second. So that kind of sets up the stage here. So if you're putting in farms, whatever it may be, establish the folder structure, organize your data, put some raw files in, and just put what's needed in there. You don't need to put a whole bunch of stuff in there. So just put the raw data in there. Let's do one more, and this time I'm going to add a new folder. And we're going to call this LDS, because we'll start working with some LDS farms. And the first one I'm going to put in there is a farm called ERDA, because I have some sample data from that as well. So if we go back out here to my C temp folder, we get some sample ERDA data. And this is for yield data. So I want to go through two samples, one for EC and one for yield data. And same thing, right? Same thing. I'm going to come over here to Erda, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new file database for Erda, call it data. Okay, we can have the same name because they're in different folder structures and they don't conflict with each other. And then under Erda, I'm going to create a new folder and call this raw files. Okay, get that ready. Come over here to my folder, copy that from wherever I downloaded it from, go to my precision irrigation farms. Now you see I have LDS, my Erda started, I got my raw files, and let's paste that in there. And that is for field 3 or pivot 3 or whatever it may be that you're working with here. And now we should see that we got 2 projects set up. One is going to work with yield data, one is working with EC data. And if I wanted to make it more meaningful, I could say whole 17_EC, so I know what that is. But again, keep it short, keep it sweet, and keep it to the point. And that sort of starts off the stage for establishing these projects and these project folders. And it's important to keep these things organized in this manner, especially when you start getting lots of information that you're going to be processing. And we're going to pause at this point, and the next step, I'm going to take the data that we got from this process and create some feature classes and start working with the information.